Here in East Texas, stories matter. On the Right Team podcast, we bring you the best of it all. Local sports, rich history, and national takes with a hometown perspective, along with faith and inspiration to keep you moving forward. From the classroom to the field, we're about learning, growing, and celebrating the communities we call home. There's something here for everyone. Listen to the Right Team podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts. The Right Team podcast. East Texas stories told right. Hello again, and welcome to another full episode of From the Press Box on the Right Team podcast, coming to you from deep in the piney woods of East Texas. I am David Weaver, host of the Right Team podcast. As always, joined by my co-host, sports director, KMHT 103.9 FM, the heartbeat of East Texas, and the pastor of Friendship Baptist Church in Marshall, Texas, Brother Matt Paul. Matt, welcome to another Wednesday.
Good to have you here, or good to be here, man. I feel like I'm in an alternate universe. You have a Pittsburgh Steelers graphic behind you. I don't know what's going on. I don't even know who you are anymore, David.
Well, you have no idea the struggle that it took for me in my mind to decide on this as my backdrop today. And I will just preface it by saying, as a lifelong card-carrying Dallas Cowboys fan, for better or worse, that this is probably the worst backdrop, at least one of them, that you could see here on From the Press Box. But, of course, it is the NFL draft time coming up tomorrow, and we're going to talk about that here later on in the show. But we do have another special guest here with us today, his, I believe, second time to join us on the podcast, and that is none other than Mr. Tristan Lundy, who has joined us here. Tristan, I don't know when you find time to sleep, man. Every time I open social media, I've got something from Tristan Lundy on there.
Yeah, well, you're right. I try to find time to sleep here and there, but it's it can be hard at times. But I'll tell you what, I appreciate y'all for having me on the podcast. I always enjoy it.
Well, we have Tristan here again because we're going to talk a little bit about some softball playoffs that are coming up in our area, and then talk a little bit about a few baseball races that are winding down, and they're getting ready for their playoff race starting next week. Well, let's start off here with just kind of go down our schedule, guys, on our East Texas softball playoffs. Of course, their by-district rounds begin this weekend. Actually, some of them tomorrow night as we record this, so it will be Thursday. And I just wanted to kind of get your guys' expertise and insight on some of these series and maybe some things for us to watch for. Let's start in Class 5A. We've got Hallsville, the District 10 5A champion, will be playing Denison in a by-district matchup. That series takes place in Forney. Three-game series starting Thursday with game one in Forney, and then they switch over on Friday to North Forney High School. And then, of course, game three, if needed, we played on Saturday. Hallsville, it was kind of a weird year for them. You look up as the defending state runner-ups from last year and going into district, the overwhelming favorite to win it. And of course did win district, but it was kind of a bumpy road at some points in time through that.
Yeah, it was. And I honestly, I think that may say less about Hallsville and more about the district. I feel like from T High to White House to Lufkin to Marshall to of course to Hallsville to Mount Pleasant, you really I talk about this with the Marshall head coach Fay on my weekly show. You really kind of had 6 playoff teams, but you could only take 4. And so I'm not saying that guarantees success for Hallsville moving forward, but I do believe that a lot of maybe the unevenness or not as smooth as usual had to do with the tough district.
Yeah, and then, of course, from that district also advancing to the playoffs, you have Mount Pleasant, which was really that kind of thorn in Hallsville's side in district play. They swept both games from the Lady Cats. They'll be playing their by-district series against Walnut Grove, again, best 2 out of 3, beginning at 8 o'clock Thursday. All of those games are being played at Commerce. Other parts of the 10-5A district playoff representatives, White House will be taking on Lovejoy. All of their games will be played at Rockwall, starting with game 1 Thursday. And then you also have Texas High, which will be playing at Melissa. This is actually a home and home series starting on Thursday night at 6 o'clock there in Texarkana. Then that series will shift to Melissa for games 2 and games 3 if necessary on Friday night. And Matt, we're back to this question, and Tristan, I don't know if you've been following us. Matt and I kind of debate this with every sport in this particular district, how hard it is to get out of the by-district round because of that district over there in the DFW suburbs for the most part. Just wears us out in every sport.
No, you're absolutely right. It really does. You listed off that schedule there, and I'm thinking Melissa home and home. That's quite the trip too. I'm kind of thinking, well, that sure is a long ride. And then Lovejoy, they're always competitive in every single sport. Of course, y'all keep up with them probably a lot closer than I do. But from an outsider's perspective, that's always keeping up with sports, online. They are always in the top conversations, whether it's in softball or football or anything for that matter. They definitely got some good athletic programs over there, but it's tough for our districts over here for sure. But knowing that they can get through them, but Matt kind of mentioned it too. That softball district this year, I got to watch some of their games and call them. That was a competitive district, and the teams that didn't make the playoffs, it wasn't like they were just getting beat bad. It was pretty competitive.
Yeah, I would agree. And kind of the saving, I guess, grace for 10-5A, I think, is that if you're going to expect any of our sports to be maybe favored in a few of these games, it's going to be softball and baseball. I think we have a fighting shot at some of that, but it's going to be tough. It's a tough. It may be as tough a by-district challenge for any district in the state, I think, based on the results that we've seen.
Yeah, we've seen that. I mean, look, T-High, congrats, but Godspeed against Melissa. Melissa softball is just that is a wagon right there. But, these other matchups, from what I've seen from Hallsville, from Mount Pleasant, from White House, not going to be especially shocked if any of them are competitive or even have a chance to pull out the victory in it. You're exactly right about it being a little different for baseball and softball as opposed to like basketball and football.
Some other games being played here in the first round of the playoffs for softball. Spring Hill will be taking on Van in really a local by-district matchup. All of these games will be played at Tyler Legacy starting on Thursday night with game 1. That will be a series that stretches into Saturday if necessary. The Carthage Bulldogs will be taking on Canton. Those games also will be played at Legacy, so you have a doubleheader going on at Legacy all 3 of the days if necessary. Lindale and Gilmer will be playing at Grand Saline in the best 2 out of 3 series. Pleasant Grove from up there north of us will be taking on Community. All these games are being played at Winsboro. You got Wills Point playing Sulphur Springs. And then to round out, I believe this is the Division II bracket. I don't know if y'all seen the bracket on the UIL website, but it for some reason it says quadrants instead of region. I don't understand that. And I'm just going to call them regions because I can't call them quadrants. I don't understand what that means. However, getting back to the podcast here, Henderson versus Athens. I don't know if you guys have seen any of those teams play, but they're going to play each other starting. Actually, they're going to start tonight as we record this on Wednesday night in Henderson. And then skip a day and then play on Friday there in Athens, and then at noon Saturday in Athens, I assume, would also be played for game 3. I do know this: Bullard is a Division I representative in 4A, and so they're going to be facing Vider. All of these games will be played down in Lufkin. And then to kind of round out the 4A ranks here, which is kind of different, and we've mentioned this a little bit and seen it in soccer, I believe in the spring. But Pittsburgh actually is playing as a 4A school, not a 3A school. They'll be taking on Quinlan Ford at Lone Oak. And then Rusk, which is of course south of us, will be taking on Silsbee in a 3-game series. So that rounds out the 4A action in our East Texas region.
Well, and you're seeing a lot of that.
Quadrant.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of that having to figure out schedules, like taking a day off, starting on a Wednesday, having to figure out locations. I mean, this time of year, whatever the sport is, finding the date and the location is always a challenge. And of course, for Tristan and I both, I think that 5A district and then our favorite 2A district, those are going to be what we know the best. But it doesn't matter what district you're in or quadrant you're in, to use your new term there, David.
Quadrant.
It's going to be tough to find. You've really got to scramble to find the dates and locations.
Yeah, I have horror stories of my background and I can relate to you guys and more power to you try to navigate this. But when you take into account prom and you take into account graduations and you take into account weather at this time of year, the havoc that it wreaks on a schedule and trying to get these games in, some of which, in my own personal experience back in the day with my kids, I mean, there were times where we were starting games at 10, 11 o'clock at night, traveling all over East Texas, trying to find a dry field. I mean, it's kind of, and heaven help the radio crew or the newspaper reporter that has to follow all of that. It's a little bit easier to at least keep up with it on social media, but yeah, those are all kinds of things that go into it. So when we say these things, and again, I just want to give a shout out to the Longview News Journal. I'm literally reading their schedule here because the UIL didn't have the sites on their site. Yeah, I mean, that can be a headache. That's why you see, and again, I'm going to put another plug in for all of these schools that are putting in the artificial turf. That saves you way more than actually it would be to try to drive around and find a place to play. You become a very popular place when you have a turf field.
Well, I can piggyback off that. You look at all these 5A schools, a lot of them played last night. I don't mean to date this podcast, but on Tuesday night they played when there was weather in the area. And then you look at the 2A schools, a lot of them didn't play. They're going to be playing on Wednesday night just because of the fact that they didn't have that turf field. Now, of course, the smaller schools don't have the funds that the bigger schools do in some cases, but still, though, that turf definitely plays a factor.
Yep.
Absolutely. Just a quick run through here, our Area 3A schools. You guys jump in if you've had any experience watching any of these teams. But White Oak will be taking on Malakoff in a bi-district series. All those games will be played at Bullard, starting with game 1 Thursday. Tatum will be taking on Mineola. All of these games will be at Pine Tree, again, starting on Thursday night with game 1. Troop is playing Grand Saline at Lindale. Their series will start on Friday night, and they'll play 2 games on Saturday if necessary. A big rivalry matchup here, just from a regional standpoint: Atlanta versus Jefferson. Those games will be taking place starting Thursday in Jefferson for game 1, and they switch to Atlanta on Friday and Saturday. Hooks is playing Dangerfield. Matt, all of these games are being played at Marshall. They're at Lady Math Field starting Thursday night, and then New Diana is playing DeKalb. Looks like they're playing at Marshall as well. So a doubleheader Thursday night in Marshall. They actually skip that day on Friday, and then they'll play on Saturday. So you're going to see games at Marshall Thursday, Friday, and Saturday guaranteed. Long weekend there at Marshall High School. And then Art is playing Edgewood. All of those games are playing at Lindale starting Friday.
Yeah, and if there's one game that I can speak to, and Tristan might be able to say a little bit about this as well. I had Coach Ty Taylor on my on my show. I guess it was Monday of this week. Why does Jefferson have to play Atlanta in the playoffs in every sport? I mean, those two teams that should be in the same district and they're not. I think boys basketball, girls basketball, now softball, they have reached they've met in the first round. It's just kind of crazy that those rivals, it's like, we're not going to put them in the same district, but don't worry, you'll meet up in the first round of the playoffs. It's kind of crazy.
They definitely draw bad luck, that's for sure. Another team that I want to talk about too, you mentioned it, Tatum. I mean, I think I posted this, but it's early, so I want to make sure I get my facts correct. 5-time district champs, I believe, going back to 2022. I mean, that is an incredible accomplishment for a program, but Of course, all of us around here know that Tatum baseball, Dustin Russell over there, they do an incredible job over there at Tatum. I think Colt Bullard is one of their big players over there. He just committed to TJC over in Tyler Junior College. So Tatum's another team that this year, all year long, they've been hot. They've been really just I talked to one of their players in Marshall actually at one of the games, and he said, throughout all the years, this feels like this is the most complete team that they've had. So it's going to be fun to watch them in the playoffs for sure.
Well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they do as well. Now, this was David. Were you talking the softball schedule though?
This is softball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
well,
which I mean, their
That's okay.
program is.
We'll get to baseball here in just a second.
Yeah. But I do. Both baseball and softball for Tatum are really strong programs. You can always expect them to be in the mix, and so that's another one that we're right down the road from for sure.
Now let's get into our 2A ranks, and this is where our kind of our sweet spot is in this district. Let's start out with Beckville versus Cayuga. Those games are being played starting actually tonight with game 1 at Tyler Legacy, and then they're going to skip 2 days, guys, and play games 2 and 3 if necessary on Saturday. Tell us a little bit about Beckville and what you've seen from their softball program this year.
I can tell you they're always good. I mean, last year I believe they were a regional finalist. I believe so. They had a really impressive team. They always do. I know this year for sure they're ranked number 3 in the state according to Max Preps. Now we know how rankings are; all of them are different, and sometimes it's not completely accurate. But they are definitely a top 5 team in the state. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Undefeated district champs, and that district, a lot of people don't give that district enough credit. It is pretty competitive. I mean, those teams in there in the middle, I mean, you got like Elysian Fields and Harleton right there. Harleton, I believe is a really good softball team. I think that they're very deserving of that playoff spot. But just last week, I mean, you got Elysian Fields, who's not a playoff team, that I think had the talent to possibly be a playoff team, that beat Harleton pretty handedly that game. So now to be fair, there's a lot of factors that could go into it. Playoff spot locked. Maybe you're not completely playing to the best of your ability for Harleton. Those things could play into factor, but still kind of goes back to that Marshall district that we were talking about in softball. It's just sneaky competitive, and I can tell you Beckville, they got a team to make a serious state run, and not just saying that to be East Texas bias either. They genuinely have the talent and the coaching to do it. Yep,
I completely agree with that. They're one to watch.
And I don't see a site or schedule for the Harleton. Speaking of the Lady Cats there in Harleton, but I do see that they're playing Frankston in the bi-district round. Matt, have y'all had any anything about the details going into that series?
Yeah, Coach Drotty let me know. I think Tristan may be on the call for some of it. I'll let him talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be Frankston on Thursday. They're going to be playing in Frankston. It's a home and home. And then on Friday, it's going to be it's going to be a game 2 and then game 3, if necessary, going to be in Harleton. So a home and home there. I'm going to be honest. I was even telling the folks at Frankston there, I've never been there, and they said that they don't know if they've ever had a game streamed there. I don't know if Frankston, how they are, previous years past in softball. I don't know if y'all are familiar with them as well. I know that Harleton's usually going to make a playoff spot, maybe, a first round exit there, but they're going to make the playoffs 9 times out of 10 there, especially in softball and baseball, really. But I would expect Harleton to win, but then again, that's me kind of being biased. If I was on the Frankston side, don't know much about Harleton, I would probably say Frankston, but from also what I was seeing on Max Preps too, it does seem like Harleton may have a little bit of the edge there, but also you can't trust everything you see on paper. It's always one that you're going to want to go watch. Any game in the playoffs, a good one.
Yeah, especially on Max Preps.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
And nothing against them. It's just not always updated. So I'm not
Yes.
quite sure what to
Yes.
believe. But just quickly, other schools from 19-2A that are playing softball this week in the playoffs. Overton, of course, is taking on Wortham, and then the other school in the district, Union Grove, will be facing Mildred in their bi-district series. So that wraps up the 19-2A bracket of teams there. Looking at the standings, though, I do believe these are fairly accurate, but of course, EF finished just a couple of games out of that fourth spot. As you mentioned, the depth of that competition there in that league is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a lot of competition, and that's what you want. We just talked about it with that district with Hallsville and Marshall. Helps you be playoff ready. And David, you and I have talked about it. We've seen it in football. We've seen it in other districts where, in other sports, where you roll into that by-district round and you're not ready for what you're going to face because your district was just not as competitive as what you're going to see in the postseason.
Let's jump over to baseball now. Again, the final week of the regular season for the baseball teams in high school in our area. Start again at the top of 10-5A. And, man, we talk about a competitive district. This one is pretty much settled going into, but there's still some drama, I think, left to play. The weather kind of had some issues going on in the area last night. I know there were a few games that were postponed, but anyway, starting out here, it looks like Mount Pleasant and Hallsville have the inside tracks for the top two spots in that. And then you got Texas High coming in third. And then you got White House and Lufkin going into this week and actually trying to figure out and battling out who's going to win that fourth spot. They're tied at 10-5 in district play.
Yeah, and I don't know when you saw these standings, but last night was a really interesting night in that district. T High got a win over White House last night, which kind of makes that one really interesting there. This has been a good, and Tristan and I've seen a lot of it, a good baseball district to kind of watch unfold, especially in that upper half. But then you got a team like Marshall, who Tristan and I have seen them go toe-to-toe with Texarkana, go toe-to-toe with Lufkin, and have a shot in those games as well. So, yeah, it's a really good – someone good's going to be left out of that one.
Yeah, most definitely. I agree with Matt. I mean, there's a lot of good baseball in that district. I can tell you just from the eye test, Mount Pleasant is an incredibly talented team. I think they have a few college commits over there on that squad. Looking in the playoffs, I'm really looking for them to make a good run out of it. But as Matt mentioned, I mean, you go over and look at Marshall, and they are right there with Lufkin. There was one game that I called that, honestly, I mean, you would argue Marshall should have won that, kind of beat themselves there. But I think that just kind of, I tell everybody, the East Texas talent here, people look at East Texas for football. I think that narrative is slowly switching in a positive direction, that it's all sports. There's just a ton of talent here. And in baseball, you look at the travel scene, there's a big, there is a lot of talent here in East Texas. There in the travel scene. Then you go and look at these school teams, and they are very, very talented as well. And it's good that they're getting to be showcased. In that 5A district, they have a lot of good teams. And as Matt said, there's going to be a good team get left out there.
Absolutely. And looking ahead to Friday, how this district plays out, Matt mentioned that final score of Texas High defeating White House on Tuesday night. That was about as devastating a loss, it appears, that White House could have taken, because when you look at the games that are coming up on Friday, they get to host Mount Pleasant, which of course is probably going to be the district champion. And they're hosting them while Lufkin is actually hosting Marshall, which is just kind of finishing out the season, right? So,
yeah,
really, I mean, the advantage there has to be Lufkin as far as winning that one and coming away with that fourth and final spot. And that's going to leave White House out of the playoffs entirely, which I don't know how much that's happened a lot. I know back in the day when I was following the district more closely and involved with it, it was it was White House and Hallsville pretty much at the top of the league every single year. I mean, there was just no doubt at all. And then, of course, now they're on the cusp of missing the playoffs altogether. So a lot of drama left still to play out in 10-5A in baseball as this season winds down. Quickly looking at the 16-4A stats and standings here as we go into, again, the last game of the season, of the regular season, that is. Not a whole lot of drama at the top. You got Spring Hill and Kilgore battling for the district championship. Spring Hill currently sits at 12-1. You got Kilgore at 12-2, so just a half game there. I'm assuming that's a weather related thing as far as the discrepancy there in the total games played. Carthage right now is in third place. They're a game ahead of Pine Tree, which is a half a game of Gilmer for that final playoff spot. So still some things left to be decided in 16-4A as we go into the last half of this week. In 13-3A in baseball, you have New Diana, which is kind of running away with it. I don't know if you've seen them at all, Tristan.
Yeah,
they're undefeated in District 13-3A.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going Blake. As soon as you said New Diana, Austin Green, I believe he went to New Diana, and he's on the New York Yankees, not the Yankees. I believe he's in Double-A. I could be wrong on that, but he's in the Yankees organization. Ended up going to Weatherford and then went to Texas Tech before getting drafted to the Yankees. So New Diana's they have baseball talent, and he's a recent one as well in the last decade. So New Diana has definitely produced some elite talent out of there. But I did know that they were good, David, but I did not know that they were undefeated or going to be district champs there. I did not realize that.
Yeah, they're running away with it. They've got a 4-game lead right now over Harmony, which is in second at 6-4, and Hugh Springs 5-5. Mount Pleasant Chapel Hill coming in at 5-6. Appears to be, I don't know without looking at the schedule what's left to play or any tiebreakers, but Jefferson is a half game out of that final playoff spot.
Well, what ended up happening was they had to play a play-in game at ETBU, Mount Pleasant Chapel Hill, and Jefferson. I guess Jefferson got that win. There, I don't know that to be certain. When Matt can let us know that he would probably know, but I know that they had a play-in game and that they would be playing at ETBU, but I don't have that information as of now when they played or who won that game.
Right. Let's drop on down into 19-2A here. Man, and Tristan, I know you have a lot that you could add to us here this morning on this particular district. This is kind of your home base, if you will, but man, EF and Beckville going toe to toe at the top of that district here in the latter part of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna. I mean, wow, that district. Every single sport, me and Matt's talked about it. You know, it's just fun to watch. Football, you never know what's going to happen. All the teams are competitive, super well coached teams, good sportsmanship. It's just a great district. I think a lot of people around Texas are taking notice to it as well. They see the talent that it produces year in and year out, and consistent playoff runs from this district in every sport. But specifically this year in baseball, you look at Harleton too. I mean, Harleton's a team that run-ruled Elysian Fields last week. No one really expected that after Elysian Fields took game 1-0. You know, you go from holding a team scoreless to letting them run-rule you. That's quite the change. But that just shows that, you know, you take any team lightly, especially these teams up here at the top. They're going to take advantage of that. I mean, especially a team like Carleton that's got state championship aspirations. They just won back in 2023. And then you go back towards the back, David, and you look at Overton and Wascom and Union Grove. And honestly, Wascom and Overton, they're fighting for that last spot. Wascom's taking on Union Grove this week. And if Wascom sweeps Union Grove and then Elysian Fields sweeps Overton, then Wascom and Overton are going to be playing a play-in game for that last spot, because Wascom and Overton, they split their series. So, and I can tell you, I'm from Wascom, born and raised. I can't tell you the last time that Wascom was in the playoffs for a reason that wasn't, that they just kind of lucked their way in, and that's coming from a fan perspective. So this has been an incredible year for baseball. That district is really loaded. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Carlisle, but they are quite impressive as well. They're just on the outside looking in, but if you watch them play, you can tell that they are definitely have some future to them. But it looks like Elysian Fields is they take down Overton, going to be on Wednesday night tonight of this that we're recording this podcast. They're going to be the district champs, and I don't know, maybe when the last time they won district was. I was trying to ask Coach Wolf, and he didn't really know. He said maybe 2021, but Elysian Fields definitely has a good chance this year. John Beavers, he's fun to watch. All those kids are.
Yeah, I've been working with Elysian Fields with Right Team Services for – oh my gosh, since 2019. And and I can't hardly remember what happened yesterday in my advanced stage. So
well,
to this, but I don't remember them winning a baseball district championship since I've been working.
Yeah, I don't
I
either.
may have missed it. The 2021, it may have happened, as Coach said, but I don't remember. It hasn't happened a whole lot. So
no.
To see them again, this just kind of goes in more with what Matt and I were visiting with Coach Maines last week, just talking about the way that athletic program has just broken free here in this year and just competed and won in everything. I mean it's been crazy. I know softball barely missed the playoffs here, but other than that, I mean, it's been everyone. They got a lot of kids, of course, going to regional and state track meets. I mean, they're not done yet. So, but man, what a great year for baseball. And to get to this point where, I mean, you have this great, the thing that jumps out to me about this district, when you can kind of puff your chest out when you're in the top one or two spots, is look at all these teams that are in it. I don't know if this is the largest baseball district in the state, but it's got to be close. I mean, this is like the American League you're looking at as far as the amount of teams, right?
It sure does seem like it.
I mean, they must have started. They had to start their district schedule in January. I mean,
yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. So, but yeah, I mean, kudos again to EF and Beckville and Harleton. Again, all of our local teams. Wascom, they're trying to get into the playoffs here at the end. So, man, that'll be a wild playoff run for anyone coming out of this league for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it shakes down. I know y'all already touched on a little bit, but especially with some of these games being moved to Wednesday and having these Wednesday, Friday almost back to back. This is what makes it so exciting when you're not only glued to your own game, but glued to the scoreboard of another game. That's when sports gets really fun.
Yes, it does. And hey, guys, I don't know how much you're starting to kind of smell it and look at your calendar, but hey, football is just a couple months away.
It'll be here before you know it.
I've already started getting my notices from Dave Campbell's and everything. Make sure all my subscription information is updated and all that kind of stuff because their magazine is on the presses as we speak. So
that's right.
Yeah, but we do, of course, want to close out spring sports, and we've got a lot of teams here that I'm kind of interested to see. Both softball and baseball. We've got a couple of teams that I think can go on a run here.
Yeah.
Of course, Hallsville in 10-5A in softball, I would think has a shot to go have another deep playoff run, and they're so young too. I mean, a lot of their players are coming back next year. I mean, their junior class is stacked, but yeah, I mean, baseball wise, got some excitement going on around the area as well. And this is the fun time of year when it comes to that, man, because again, from just going every week to week, weekend to weekend with these playoff series, I mean, it kind of takes me back, to when my son was playing and going all over the state, and man, it wears you out. But man, there's a lot of good memories there.
Yeah, it's one of the best times of year. It really is for high school sports. Of course, we've talked about it on the national scene for things like the Masters and college baseball getting to the postseason and all the NBA playoffs. It's a lot of fun.
And I know there's some tremendous athletes out there locally that we haven't even had a chance to talk about in golf and a lot of it track. I mean, we've talked about that a little bit, but anyway, yeah, a lot of stuff going on here locally in good old East Texas. Well, Tristan, man, we appreciate you coming on with us again. I know, again, you're hitting the roads and keeping us informed, so we really appreciate that. We got to let you go, but again, thank you for popping on here with us and sharing some of these great insights that you have with some of these programs.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully I can come back on, whether it's next week or the week after, because with playoffs around, of course, we're all going to be busy keeping up with everything, and hopefully we can watch some of our teams make a good run. But again, I appreciate y'all for having me on always.
Just know, and we'll just let our listeners know on when we record our podcast on Wednesdays, Tristan has an open invitation. So we're going to try to have him back next week again. And because particularly in these smaller rural districts, man, I know you have all the insight that we could possibly use. So we appreciate you coming on with us.
Yes, sir. Yep. Absolutely. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Tristan. All right. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, man. We just really went over half of what I like to think of teams that we try to follow here on the podcast. And who knows, maybe later on we'll do like we did in basketball. We would just kind of adopt some if they go deep and kind of hop on their bandwagon. But anyway, good again to have Tristan with us. Man, it's exciting what he's doing. I don't know. A lot of folks out there in our area, of course, know who Tristan is and follow him immensely. He's got a finger on everything: sports, news, relationships, everything. I mean, he knows just about everybody, and is just a tremendous source. So follow him on social media, Tristan Lundy, and he'll give you all you need to know about what's going on here in East Texas.
No doubt about it. And he's just so. It's kind of like you said, he's so connected. He's got a source for everything. It feels like he's going to know when it happens, right as it happens for the most part. And that's how you succeed in this business.
And it stretches across the border over there. That's the cool thing about being in the Wascom EF area is that everything there, you're so tied to Louisiana as well. There's Louisiana news that he breaks too. So you folks over there, our neighbors to the east of us, there in Louisiana can take advantage of that as well. Okay, let's move on here with our podcast, Matt. Talk about a little NBA action. Of course, the first round is still ongoing, and I'm telling you, there's a few series now that, again, I mentioned on Monday the old adage that it's not a series until your road team wins it or the home team loses the game. We've had quite a lot of that going on here the last couple of days since we last talked. Starting with the games on Tuesday, and your Celtics kind of took a hit there from the 76ers to even that game up last night, a 111-97 win by Philadelphia over Boston.
Yeah, of course, this is quite the rivalry right there with those two teams. Goes back way before this series. It's funny. I was talking with my son. Boston just has the last few years had this penchant of just like making series more difficult than they have to be, struggling to they've honestly kind of been better on the road than they have been at home. And so, I was curious as to how they were going to handle things with it's what's been kind of a different sort of year, incorporating Tatum back in. And Philly's got a lot of talent. I want to say kudos to them, but I told my son, I was like, feels like Boston's back to normal. We lost a home playoff game, But yeah, that one, I never expected that to be like a 4-game series or even maybe a 5-game series. I felt like it would probably be a pretty competitive one. I think Philly made their mark and did what they had to do to stay competitive in the series. You don't want to go 2-0. I still feel good about where Boston is now. If they don't at least get one in Philly, I'll change my tune on that. But that was a great job by Philly. They took care of business last night.
Staying in the East here, of course, Cleveland took care of business. They improved to 2-0 on Monday night, and so they go into their game, I believe, on Thursday. Yes, they'll be playing Game 3 on Thursday, but they have a 2-0 lead in that series. And then of course, also on Monday night, man, what a game in New York. You talk about some angst going on right now in New York with the Hawks coming away with a 107-106 win. I know Mike Brown has taken a lot of heat for that over the last 24 hours for a decision not to use a timeout. You know, there's two ways of looking at that, right? I mean, I don't want to pile on a lot of, and just from working with coaches a lot, there, you know, you either call your timeout and advance the ball, or you want the flow of the game to work and give your guy as open of a look as he can get. I kind of think you're between a rock and a hard place there. If it works out, you look like a genius. If it doesn't work out, then you get criticized for keeping the timeout in your pocket.
That's right. That's right. And you know, the bigger issue was the double-digit lead in the fourth quarter that evaporated. It wasn't why does it come down to that? But I really did feel like the Hawks, we talked about this before. I feel like that they got better when they traded Trae Young. They really did. They got hot at the end of the year, and I feel like I'm not going to be so bold as to say that I think they're going to win the series, but I did expect them to be competitive in this series, and Atlanta's going to be a tough place to play. I kind of like the chances of this series coming back to Madison Square Garden tied at 2 apiece. And boy, if you're 2-2, you're down to a best of 3 now. It's a good series. So well done by Atlanta. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with what Mike Brown did. The bigger issue is blowing a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, those games on Tuesday in the West in particular, a couple of different scenarios playing out here with, of course, San Antonio dropping game 2 at home to Portland 106-103. The biggest news coming out of that, however, is it appears Victor Wembanyama, at least for a time, was maybe have been knocked unconscious and has been put into the concussion protocol. I don't know how much that actually evens the series just in terms of the potential outcome, but it's certainly in Portland's favor depending on how long Wemby's going to be out.
No doubt. Well, he's the most important player in that series. Did you see the fall? Have you seen it? Man, yes. That was scary looking. That was really scary.
I've heard it stated this morning on morning talk shows being described as it looked like a giraffe had been shot.
Yeah.
You know, one of those kind of things. Now, the thing for them is that he does have an extra day here. So they don't play again until Friday. So I've never seen a concussion protocol go, you know, less than 48 hours maybe.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if he's even available Friday night. But that's just a little bit of a thing to watch as this series moves on. If it's as serious as it looked like last night, again, it appeared he was unconscious, at least for, you know, a moment. And you know, does that mean that it's going to take a little while longer? I don't know. I guess we'll get more information on that as we move forward here today and into the latter part of the week, but something to watch in that series.
Yeah.
And even with him gone, I mean, it was a struggle, and Portland, you know, wins it by 3. So you don't win 62 games in the NBA and it pretty much be just one guy. I think the Spurs have some depth to maybe get past this series, but we'll see.
Yeah.
The other game from last night that we have talked about this series at least is, man, LeBron did it again, and the Rockets are in trouble. And I don't know, you know, we were talking about KD and maybe being the equalizer, but he was nothing. He was nothing that would approach being an equalizer in game 2.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know what to say. A lot of turnovers for him, and you know, you just feel like, I know you had him out for the first game, but you had to feel like, you know, we've got to get one in LA without Luka, without Austin Reeves. You don't get either. LeBron, man, that dude does not look 41 years old right now. It's kind of crazy what he's doing.
He seems reinvigorated with the challenge.
He does. I completely agree. I completely
And again,
agree.
all of my disagreements that I've said on this podcast with LeBron, I mean, this is the kind of thing that I think you have to give him props for, is that, and it's weird. It's almost like when he has talent around him, he doesn't feel as challenged. He's more of a, and I have to be careful because I am a Jordan guy.
Right.
But, you know, Michael didn't care who he played with. I mean, Michael could go out and LeBron is going to, let me say it this way, as I remember it, Jordan didn't care whether he got his teammates going.
Yeah.
LeBron seems to be the guy that's his goal going into every night. I'm going to get my guys going, and then, you know, then I go be me when I have to be me.
Yeah.
It's just a different it's a different game. It's a different style. But when he decides to be the guy, like he's had to be the last couple of nights, I think you see his greatness come out on the court.
You really do, and
it's almost like having a Luka Doncic or an Austin Reeves as a sidekick hampers him.
Yeah, and I think you're just, I don't know. There's a small sample size of players that have played meaningful basketball at his age, right? I mean, you've got Kareem and I don't know, a few others. I mean, you've got some role players, but as far as superstars who have played basketball at age 41 and beyond, you don't have a very large sample size. But to be out there doing in the playoffs what he's doing at that age, and knowing he is the focal point of the team. It's not as though, well, yeah, of course he's doing well, other teams are having to focus on Luka or what. It's not the case. It is outstanding. It's one of the more compelling storylines thus far in the NBA playoffs by far for me.
I agree. Another some big news coming out of the NBA on Tuesday, of course, was the coach Billy Donovan stepping down as the Bulls head coach. 6-season run there in Chicago. This was a resignation, a step down, if you will. It wasn't fired. By everything you read in this story from Shams on ESPN, I mean, it was almost the Bulls were a little bit surprised by this. But my next question is, hey, man, if you're North Carolina, man, if you really wanted Billy Donovan, could you not have waited 2 weeks? Because I don't know where he goes now. What's next for Billy Donovan, who is a Hall of Fame coach?
Yeah, I've heard some things. I'm going to kind of get to it on my back page, but I've heard some things, so we'll see.
Ooh, I love teasers.
Mm-hmm.
I love teasers. Well, we'll save it for that. Now I'm excited for the back page. The other question coming out of yesterday, and again, it's not official yet, but all signs are pointing to Steve Kerr being done at Golden State and walking away from the Warriors finally. That leads to the question. I want to get your take on this. What is the legacy of Steve Kerr at Golden State? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you know, obviously Steph is a generational kind of thing, kind of player, and that has a lot to do with it. And Steph's attitude. Steph's never really been the kind of player that you're like, okay, I've got to coddle him and I've got to keep him happy. So I think Kerr had a leg up there. But, you know, really, I think to me what stands out the most about Steve Kerr is I'm always fascinated at who gets chosen to coach the Olympic basketball teams for the United States, because you do have to manage personalities there, and you do have to get people to grasp that this is bigger than you, because even in the NBA playoffs, you can be a me-focused guy and it sort of gets swept under the rug. No one really is bothered by it. If you're a me-first guy on the Olympic stage and it costs your team something, the whole nation's kind of coming down on you. And so that coach's role right there and managing that is not an easy thing. And he was chosen for it, and not only chosen for it, but at a time when it's not as if American basketball was a shoe-in to just win everything. I mean, my gosh, look at the global stage and some of the players that we're seeing now. And of course, who erupted to win us the gold medal? It was Steph Curry. But I think he's got to go down as, I mean, I'm not sure where top 5, top 10. I don't know. He's one of the best ever, and he's a Hall of Fame coach, in my opinion. I've been really impressed.
Yeah, I'm going to preface my opinion on, again, it's similar to LeBron in that I'm going to try to separate the off-court disagreements that I have, mainly with things that he promotes and agrees with outside of basketball. I mean, I'll just put it like that. I vehemently disagree with him on social issues. Okay, I'll just say that. But the question you do have to ask yourself is, and you brought it up there with where would he rank historically? I think it's the same kind of question that you have to ask yourself with the Phil Jackson question. And I've said before, and I really believe this, it's a completely different game coaching in the NBA as opposed to coaching in college. It's more about, and you mentioned, and you kind of touched on this, it's about managing egos, it's about managing personalities, it's about keeping everybody focused on the task. It's not necessarily, in many ways, it's not X's and O's. It's not, it is. So to me, I would compare him more to a Phil Jackson in that, Phil was able to be the perfect coach for just go look at The Last Dance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was Phil Jackson's role, was making sure everyone stayed in the same corral. And nobody busted out of it and started doing their own thing. And when they wanted to do that, and it got to a point where he had to make decisions on it, he took it on a case-by-case basis, aka managing Dennis Rodman. He was the first one to be able to do that. I think Kerr, of course, made his name, of course. Where did he play? He played in Chicago.
Yes.
Right. I mean, he learned a lot from playing for Phil Jackson. And I kind of compare and think he's kind of in that mode. I think everything that he's accomplished at Golden State as the coach, he fell into Steph Curry. He fell into Klay Thompson. He fell into, Kevin Durant as a free agent.
Yeah.
And Draymond has a role that is very unique. And he found a way to make him an all-NBA player when he's really probably isn't. And Draymond Green, everything that Draymond Green has become, he owes a lot of that to Steve Kerr. And so I guess to say that, I don't know where he stands as far as great coaches in the history of the NBA, but because of the time and the place and what the accomplishments and making sure, there's been a lot of really good superstar teams that come together that don't have the success that Golden State has. And so I think that's going to be the legacy of Steve Kerr, is that he did what only a handful of guys in front of him have ever been able to do, and that's win multiple championships and hang on to their guys and keep them all focused during that run.
Yep. Agree. Completely agree.
And putting all my disagreements aside, I can say that I don't know if I would say he's one of the greatest coaches in the NBA, but his record says he is.
Yeah,
it's hard to argue that. Okay, man, the big news coming up this week on top of everything else, and I know we got playoff action in high school and NBA and everything else going on, but man, there is no bigger news in the sports world than the NFL draft. Yep. And I have promised, and I'm going to deliver today, my final mock draft predictions. And this is going to be nothing like scientific, man. I sat down yesterday, Matt, and I went and made picks and moves for everyone in this draft. And it was fun to do it. It's probably none of it going to fall out that way, but it was really fun going through the exercise. I did want to mention, since we've last talked, big news on the Cowboys front. Of course, one of their outstanding contract issues has been taken care of. The Cowboys, of course, have signed Butter Aubrey, as we say in Cowboy land, to a 4-year deal averaging over $7 million per season. He's the highest paid kicker in the NFL, actually in the history of the NFL. And the ironic thing is here, man, I think the Cowboys got this right. I do.
Yeah.
I was not all for. I love Brandon Aubrey. I think he's a unique weapon that anybody can have on your team. I mean, just get us to midfield, guys. We can score points. But sometimes not even to midfield. But
yeah.
I can never see myself ever living in a world where a kicker makes $10 million in the NFL, which is what Aubrey's team was asking for.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys held firm at 7. They had, of course, put the second-round tender on him, which meant he was going to make, actually, I believe, less than he made last year, which was going to be somewhere in the $5.3, $5.4 million range this year, and had zero leverage at all. Maybe the least leverage you could ever have as a player against in a contract negotiation. And Aubrey, to his credit, it appears, went to his team, went to the Cowboys, said, I want to get this done. And I just want to be the highest paid kicker. The Cowboys said, fine, we want to make you the highest paid kicker. And so they went $500,000 above the previous highest paid kicker, which was Kaimi Fairbairn with the Texans. So we have the highest paid kickers in the NFL in history, Matt, here in the state of Texas this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's the best kicker in the NFL, and in an NFL where kickers are becoming better and better. I mean, like, I'll give a shout out to my former Razorback Cam Little at Jacksonville, he's got the record now for longest field goal, and so there are other kickers that are doing some really special stuff, but I think Brandon's the best of all of them. I think Aubrey is, and should be the highest paid kicker, and given inflation, it means he probably should be the highest paid kicker in the history of the NFL, just because of what prices are nowadays. So, and they were able to do it under what he was originally asking. And I agree with you. I think he's a very valuable weapon, but I don't think you sold the farm to pay for him. So that's good.
No, and his cap hit is going to be that's the biggest thing about it. His cap hit is going to be almost nothing. So I mean, you get the best of both worlds. You take care of your guy, and he's not really costing you that much in terms of the salary cap. So win-win for everybody there. Congratulations to Brandon Aubrey, and he's the most exciting part of this football team at the moment. Okay, here's my stab at a mock draft, and again, the previous time I did this a couple of weeks ago, I went down basically on need. I did no trades. I did nothing like that. But Matt, this time around, I decided to go ahead and go all in and have some fun with this. And so what I did, every time a team was, quote, on the clock here in my mock draft, I tried to put myself in their shoes, along with the shoes of some other teams that I could envision maybe making a move here. And some of these I had 3 first-round trades, okay, in this. And so I wanted to preface that and say that these are just guesses on my part based on what I'm hearing, what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, and had some fun with it. So, of course, there is very little. Everyone in the world is going to get this one right, but the Raiders, of course, are going to draft Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner, and that is the best possible choice for them, even though he is not, again, he may be a top 5 player in this draft. I personally think he's probably 6, 7, but it's the perfect pick for the Raiders that they need. You always take the best quarterback at number 1. Jets pick I have at number 2. I have them going with Texas Tech defensive end David Bailey, even though, and I think you saw this probably, but they canceled their 30 visit with him, which is kind of odd. Of course, the Jets come out and say, hey, don't read anything into that. We already know we need to know about this player. But if you were going to invest this kind of pick in a player like that, I think I would bring him in for that 30 visit. But it's kind of an odd way, but I still see him taking him number 2 overall. Then I have my first trade, okay? And it's not who anyone is saying, so I'm going out on a limb here. If I was a betting man, I could win some money with this probably. But I have the Kansas City Chiefs trading up with the Arizona Cardinals because the Cardinals are fire selling this pick. I really believe they do not want to stand there and take this pick because they're going to be left with taking the best player available on a team that has a lot of needs. The glaring needs, of course, are their need for an offensive tackle and a quarterback. And I don't know. There was part of me that said they would try to sell the farm and move up to get a Mendoza. I don't think that's going to happen, but that was way earlier in this process. But anyway, I have the Chiefs trading up, trading picks 9 and 29, with 2 first-round picks going to the Cardinals. Cardinals get to drop to number 9. The Chiefs receive pick number 3 and pick number 34. Okay. So, but I have this trade going, and the Chiefs will select Arvell Reese, the edge out of Ohio State. Okay. That's an aggressive move that I could see Andy Reid trying to pull off there in Kansas City. At number 4, I have the Titans sticking and picking and taking linebacker Sonny Styles out of Ohio State. I don't believe all of this talk about Robert Saleh considering Jeremiah Love here. I think he's a defensive coach, and he goes and takes the best defensive player on the board, in my opinion, that being Sonny Styles. At number 5, of course, the Giants have kind of thrown a wrench into everything here in the first round with their trade with the Bengals. Now the Giants, of course, have 2 first-round picks in the top 10. A little bit of a surprise here probably, and it's maybe a little bit too high, but I think the Giants are infatuated with Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona State, especially after his workout a few days ago, which has had him shooting up draft boards everywhere. And I think the Giants take him here at number 5. Now, that is way too high to take a wide receiver in this draft, but because of his workout and because of the chatter and because they have 2 top 10 picks now, I don't think the Giants want to risk him being there at 10. And so I think the Giants take him here at 5, knowing that they've got another top 10 pick in their back pocket. And they go ahead and lock down a wide receiver for Jackson Dart to pair along with Malik Neighbors. At number 6, I have the Browns staying and taking the best offensive tackle on the board, Francis Mauigoa out of Miami, which is a target for Arizona. I just don't think Arizona wants to take him at 3, and I don't think they should. But I could see him going at 6 here in the middle part of the top 10. I think the Commanders really would consider plucking Caleb Downs off the board here, but I think their need for a wide receiver there for Jaden Daniels outweighs that. And they do have a top 10 receiver in Carnell Tate on the board, so I have them taking Ohio State's Carnell Tate off the board at number 7. Here's another surprise that I really, sitting in my chair and thinking about this and going through this draft, I don't know. I kind of had this on a whim. And I went back to where, if you remember a couple of drafts ago, actually the 2023 draft, I believe, when Bijan Robinson came off the board at number 8.
Yeah.
He was very similar for him leading into that draft. Here's where I could see Jeremiah Love coming in and the Saints going out on a limb and taking who you and I have talked about being maybe the best player in the entire draft, Jeremiah Love. Certainly a top 3 player. He falls to number 8, and I have him going to the Saints. Cardinals, who had traded out of number 3, now are now in the number 9 spot. This is where they get their offensive tackle. I have them going for Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle out of Utah. Giants' second pick in the first round is number 10. This is where, unfortunately, I believe they go and get Caleb Downs, the safety out of Ohio State. That's a pretty good haul for them in the first round, Jordan Tyson and Caleb Downs. Here's now I have 2 trades back to back, okay? And this one's probably a reach for me, but I think the Dolphins, who already have a second first rounder, it's number 30, but they're looking to trade down as well to get some more picks. So I have the Buccaneers trading up with them. to the number 11 spot. The Bucks receive pick number 11. The Dolphins receive the 15th pick in the first round, and then the 77th pick overall, which I believe is a third-round pick. And Tampa Bay would take Mansour Delane, the cornerback out of LSU. At this point, of all the defensive players and talent that's on the board, they're all gone. If I'm Dallas in their situation, which I'm not, which means they won't, they are now. I'm looking at getting more picks. I'm looking at trading out of number 12. I would consider if Tyson or even Love were still on the board and all those defensive players are gone, it would come down to drafting. It would come down to, at that point, it would come down to drafting Jordan Tyson. It would come down to drafting Jeremiah Love, or it would come down to drafting Reuben Bain. And if I can get this trade and move down and get a couple more picks out of it, I would let Bain pass as well. So I have the Detroit Lions trading up from number 17 and getting the Cowboys number 12 pick and then number 112 pick. And Dallas would receive in that scenario number 17, number 50, which is a second-round pick, which they currently don't have, and then a 118, which means they would recoup their fourth-round pick that they're giving up. So a first, a second, and a fourth rounder they would be receiving and giving up a first and a fourth rounder. And the Lions would then take Reuben Bain at pick number 12. They have a big need for a defensive end opposite Hutchinson, whatever his name is. Can't remember that.
Yeah.
Anyway, at number 13, the Rams, who, again, if you listen to a lot of chatter, could be one of those aggressive teams. The Rams do everything aggressively. Could see them trying to trade up into the top 10 to get one of those two big wide receivers. That's a glaring need for them. But in this scenario, I think they stay at 13 and they get one that falls to them. Mekhi Lemon out of USC. Number 14, I have the Ravens. Who knows what the Ravens are going to do? A completely new front office and coach. With a defensive coach, I could see them taking a defensive player here above some other needs that they have and going with Keldrick Falk, the defensive end out of Auburn. At number 15, this is the Dolphins pick after their trade with Tampa Bay. They stay and they feel that they're one of their biggest needs. They have a lot in Miami right now. But the offensive tackle, Monroe Freeling out of Georgia, goes to Miami at number 15. Here's a surprise. And, of course, I felt comfortable doing this because it's the Jets, and the Jets always do something really dumb and stupid and outside the box that never works out for them. But I think this could. So if they don't take a wide receiver, a Tate or a Tyson, which they shouldn't at number 2, they stay and they take the best player available, I believe, at David Bailey. Now they need to get a wide receiver. All the big ones are off the board. They really need a wide receiver, Matt. They need a wide receiver. So I'm saying this may be a reach, and it is a reach, but just watch this guy. It's Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. I believe he's an electric player, one of the fastest players in the draft. I think he's going to be in the first round, and here I have him going to the Jets at number 16. You will be getting texts from me puffing my chest out if something wild like this happens at number 16.
I'm sure, as I should.
Okay, now the Cowboys are back on the clock at number 17. And here's a sneaky pick that I would be 100% on board with, but the safety out of Oregon, Dylan Thieneman. I believe, look, man, I'm all in on Caleb Downs, and if he falls to 12, we stay and we pick him. But this is a nice consolation prize along with a couple of extra picks that you get in this draft. And so if they can get Thieneman at number 17, that's the safety that Christian Parker is looking for. Would remind me of a couple of guys that he had at Philadelphia. Okay. And so that I could see the Cowboys doing that. Right behind them is the Vikings, which is very important because the Vikings' biggest need is a safety. If the Cowboys can get Thieneman before they do. But the Vikings now, with the safeties off the board, go with Caden Proctor, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. At number 19, I have the Panthers taking the best tight end on the board, the Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq. And then the Cowboys are back on the clock at number 20. Here's where I see them taking their defensive end, and he's a Miami defensive end, Akeem Mesidor. The biggest thing against Mesidor, Matt, is his age. He's 25. He'll be 25 years old when the season starts.
Wow.
The Cowboys have a history of this. The Cowboys, of course, drafted Terrence Newman years and years ago when he was 25, I believe, maybe 26. I can't remember. He was an NFL veteran by that time, coming out of Kansas State. That was a Bill Parcells pick. Here I could say, see, this is a Jerry Jones pick because let's face it, Jerry's clock is ticking. And this would be a win now move for Jerry to say, we're going to take the best defensive end left on the board. I don't care how old he is.
Yeah.
He may only have one contract. I may only have one contract left at my age. Why not go get the guy right now and enjoy 5 years with him? Anyway, that's my Cowboys pick at number 20. So if my Cowboy fans are out there, we get in the first round based on my mock draft. We get Dylan Thieneman, the safety out of Oregon, and defensive end Akeem Mesidor out of Miami. Short of any of those top 3 or 4 defensive guys falling to you at 12, I think that's the best possible draft you could see here. Still have a need for cornerback, but I think you can get that if you've got that second round pick in your back pocket now. Okay, let's move on here very quickly. At number 21, I have the Steelers with their stadium behind me here, going out and getting the best guard that they need. Ola Viaga, whatever. Do you know his name?
I do not.
Ione at Penn State. There's got to be a nickname for him at some point. But anyway, I think he's a good player, and he goes to the Steelers and Mike McCarthy at number 21. Pittsburgh desperately needs a quarterback. This is too high for them, I think, to take Ty Simpson. But you never know with Pittsburgh either. Sometimes they go outside the box. Number 22, defensive tackle Peter Woods out of Clemson goes to San Diego and Jim Harbaugh at number 22. Always looking to build the interior lines, Harbaugh is. He takes the best defensive tackle, I believe, in the draft. 23, the Eagles inevitably are going to trade, we believe, A.J. Brown this summer. And so they get his replacement here with Omar Cooper Jr., the wide receiver out of Indiana. Number 24, I have the Browns. Again, their second pick of the first round. He took the offensive tackle, Maugoa, with that number 6. I believe they do a little bit of a reach here, but he's by far the highest rated player on the board at this point. And I think with a second round or a second first rounder here, you can take this risk. It may be too high for him for most teams, but I'm going out on a limb and saying the Browns would take a Jermod McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee. Yeah. A lot of questions with his knee, man, long-term issues that are going to scare some teams away. But if you're the Browns, why not take a flyer on a guy like that? You need a quarterback. At number 25, the Bears. Again, with Ben Johnson, I think he kind of tries to mimic what he did at Detroit and build an offensive line around Caleb Williams. He takes the next best offensive tackle off the board from Utah, Caleb Lemieux, goes to the Bears at 25. 26, again, the Bills need offense around Josh Allen, but they also need some defense, man. And I have them taking the next best safety on the board, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety out of Toledo. At 27, the 49ers, although they just did re-sign Trent Williams, I think have some holes on their offensive line coming up. They take Clemson's Blake Miller, the offensive tackle. Then the Texans are on the board. They desperately need a defensive tackle to add to that, in my opinion, the league's best defense. They're just going to make it stronger when they take defensive tackle from Ohio State, Caden McDonald. That would give Ohio State, Matt, I believe, 6 first-round picks. And Ryan Day, for not winning the national championship last year, probably should be fired with that kind of talent. That question has come up a time or two in the past, hasn't it?
For sure.
At number 29, the Cardinals with their second first-round pick now that they got from Kansas City. This is going to be a big surprise, but they take Ty Simpson, the quarterback from Alabama. So that gives the Cardinals a pretty good first round here with Simpson at 29. And, of course, they took the offensive tackle to protect him at Fano up at number 9. Final 3 picks here, the Dolphins at number 30. Fill their wide receiver need with Washington's Denzel Boston. Patriots are then on the board. I think they need a linebacker, and I think he fits well with what they want to do. This is the kid from Georgia, C.J. Allen. And then at 32, the defending Super Bowl champs go out and get a pretty good sleepy defensive end here in Clemson's T.J. Parker. and that would round out your first round. So try to get that through as quickly as possible. A lot of fun. It's never going to fall the way you see it. But what are some things maybe that I said fast that you think maybe I might be onto something? Give me a little love here.
I do like the Cowboys picks. I really like the Cowboys picks. As long as they don't take a kicker, I feel like they're going to take a kicker. Or as long as they don't do that, I'm good. But no, seriously, I do think the trades that you've mentioned, especially that first one, makes sense. And I like when these trades happen. I think it makes, I don't know, for me, it makes the draft a little more entertaining. I really kind of enjoy it. If you're ever at the draft, you can see the energy for the people there, or if you're watching it when that little music breaks and Schefter starts reporting a trade, it's just something that's exciting. So I certainly, one, I want you to be right. So I think that would be cool. But two, I hope that stuff happens because I just think it makes it more entertaining. But I think I like the reasoning you gave for things seemed to make a lot of sense. And I think the overarching theme that we forget sometimes is yes, you want to draft according to need, of course, but sometimes your need, the best player available at that need isn't worth that pick. And so you've got to kind of audible, and we do see the good teams do that. So I'm curious to see. I am really curious to see what's available to the Cowboys, though, at 12. I mean, for the purposes of this podcast, for you and me and our interest, that is who's available and what are you going to do with it? That's the biggest question for me.
From a fan standpoint, for me, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm 100% okay. If I'm sitting at 12, and a Sonny Styles, a Caleb Downs, a Mansour Delane fall to me at number 12, I'm sticking and picking. I'm taking one of those guys. I'd be okay with them taking Ruben Bain at 12. They need an edge rusher. But if an opportunity presents itself to where I can pick up a second round pick by moving down a few spots, I would give up Ruben Bain in that scenario. Yeah. I would think the picks would be worth it more if they're offered to me, but I would be okay with them sticking and picking there. That means they're passing on some really good players to get down and still get their guy, which I believe they still have a need at safety. I'd be okay with them taking a wide receiver there if the wide receiver falls. And we talked about it the other day. We talked about how if ultimately he falls to you and he's the best player on the board and none of these defensive guys are there, take Jeremiah Love. He's the best player in the draft at 12. Or use him as a trade chip. Somebody's going to want to trade up and get that guy if he's at 12. Yeah. He's too good a player. So that's kind of fun doing that. And I'm going to be following it along and just see kind of like a NCAA bracket and just kind of see how close I am to it. It's kind of fun. Yeah. I geek out into stuff like that. But again, that's my mock draft. The NFL draft again coming up this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. That outside of you talk about the NCAA tournament and everything. The NFL draft kind of does that for me for 3 days. Yeah. It's just fun to watch. That brings us here finally to the back page of today's podcast. Matt, you've already given us a little bit of a teaser what you have for us here. Why don't you expound on that and satisfy our curiosity?
Well, you mentioned Billy Donovan and what's he going to do now, and does he still want to coach? And I do believe he's probably going to take a year off because that's just where we are in the coaching cycle. But there's already rumors from some pretty viable sources that Kentucky is amassing resources after this next year to make a play at Billy Donovan. And so I read that shortly after Donovan stepped down. And then I read last night, and I don't know if you saw this, the Kentucky governor we started seeing these politicians getting more involved in college sports. The Kentucky governor, Andy Beshear, has publicly questioned the decision-making at the University of Kentucky, including the 7-figure gig that retiring AD Mitch Barnhart was recently given. It's interesting because Mitch Barnhart, who's stepping down at the end of June, was recently named executive in residence for the UK Sport and Workforce Initiative. The contract will pay him $1 million a year beginning in July 1st, and it does not provide a concrete job description of what it means to be the executive in residence. So that's, if you're a Kentucky fan, that's encouraging. We're going to pay this guy $1 million a year. He's leaving as AD, and we don't really know what he's going to do, but we're going to pay him $1 million a year. Now, the governor's stepping in and questioning, and obviously Kentucky football has, it's not been great for a while. Let's be real. No one cares about Kentucky football in Kentucky when you get right down to it. We know what everybody cares about in Kentucky. They care about Kentucky basketball, and this all has everything to do with the fact that, it's kind of like you watch the movie Hoosiers, and if you're in Indiana and your school's basketball team's terrible, you're having a town meeting, right, to discuss what we're going to do about this. You've got the governor involved, and this is clearly about the state of basketball at the University of Kentucky under Mark Pope. He's entering his third season. Robert Wright, one of the biggest portal entries from BYU, essentially used Kentucky to get more money from BYU and went back. Not used to Kentucky being used as leverage for places. Major Syracuse transfer Donnie Freeman picked St. John's instead of Kentucky. Who's St. John's coach? Former Kentucky coach Rick Pitino. You've got recruits that are kind of they didn't have a big recruiting class this year. They're trying to make some hay in the portal, and they've got a couple coming, but still, it's just curious to me, the state of Kentucky basketball. And of course, as an Arkansas fan, I know we're not at the top end of it right now. We're like a Michigan is or whatever, or Connecticut. But I mean, we're pretty happy with Coach Cal. We're pretty happy that he left Kentucky and came to Arkansas. It seems to be working all right. But man, the governor's stepping in. Kentucky basketball must be in a bad shape if the governor is stepping into this. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, akin to, I guess, maybe Longhorn football. Although I got to say, I mean, Kentucky basketball is a whole other animal. That is what that whole state revolves around. And our state revolves around a lot of different things. But I just found it curious. The governor's getting worried about Kentucky basketball.
Yeah, sounds like he's taking a page out of the LSU or the Louisiana governor's book.
That's right.
And yeah, but it kind of, you said it. It shows the level of desperation they have there and fear and getting left behind. You can't do that at a place like Kentucky. No. I would think maybe though you could maybe draw some inspiration and maybe try to gear your expectations to look at Indiana, the way they've been able to get over the fact that, they're not Indiana basketball, at least right now. But man, that football team is carrying you through, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
So, well, thanks, Matt. Good stuff there. Okay, I want to touch on a little bit of something here that's a little bit uncomfortable, and it's been going on for a couple of weeks, and I just it came out some more yesterday on it, and I just wanted to make a quick comment about this Rossini Mike Vrabel scandal.
Yeah,
Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel. So here's why it matters to me, and I'm not going to say anything or say one way or the other because I don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows really what went on in this whole thing, and I don't know that. I mean, it matters because that's the title of what I've written down here. Why this matters, okay? Outside of any of the seedy details that whatever may be out there, but here's why this matters to me, okay? In my little small seat, number one, as a former full-time journalist, I kind of dabble in it right now, obviously, but the essentials of journalism, the bedrock of that is trust between reporter and subject, reporter and public. The whole idea of a press, a free press, is that you are the eyes, the ears, the conscience of the people. And when you lose trust, which we've seen in media, oh my gosh, for the last 30, 40 years,
Sure.
It's been eroding trust left and right for a lot of reasons. Some of it's fair, some of it's not necessarily so fair, but it is what it is. There is no more time in history where there was a level of distrust between the general public and the news media as it is right now. That's just a fact.
Yep.
Things like this don't make that any better. They destroy it, whatever's left. To be a reporter as high profile as Diana Rossini was, to even be caught in a situation like this, whether it was completely innocent, as the more this comes out, it doesn't appear to be as innocent as they originally wanted us to believe. But to even be caught in a situation where, even if it is innocent, it looks not innocent. And you know that as a pastor.
Yes.
Right? Perception is reality until the reality becomes the perception. It's the old Billy Graham rule, right? You never meet with a woman in your office with the door closed, right? I mean,
Right.
Pretty much every pastor or preacher or minister you talk to, a male, will tell you that. They live by that. So there's that thing. There's the trust. There's the just sheer lack of professionalism that went into that event, that day, that weekend, whatever it was that they are pictured as doing. So there's that thing. To me, there's an essentials of leadership on his part here, because again, not knowing what went on, I just know what I see in the pictures and what you hear, right? I mean, so you can't be a leader and make those kinds of bad choices. Leaders who make bad choices are bad leaders.
Yep.
And that's the problem with everybody saying, he came out yesterday and he says he needed to talk to his team first. That's the idea of leadership. Now, if I'm sitting in that locker room as a player, I'm questioning the decision-making ability of my head coach.
Right.
Because right or wrong, innocent or not, it looks bad.
Yeah.
And it just, you can't be sitting in a situation like that knowing that all eyes potentially are watching you and make those kinds of decisions. It goes back to the idea of what makes a good role model.
Yep.
That's not something that a role model has to understand. Eyes are watching you always.
That's right.
You are always under the microscope, and you make little bad choices, and then here it is. It's out in the public now, and now you're having to pay the consequences of it. I did not like his explanation yesterday.
Yeah.
It left a lot to be desired. I believe in a situation like this, and I've gone completely, 360 on this in my career. Just tell the truth.
Yeah.
If you tell the truth, there's nothing left to be said. And now you still leave it open to interpretation, and the only interpretation we have is what? Those photos.
That's
and
right.
So just step up, be a leader, and then move on. But until you explain a little more detail as to what your decision-making process was, I don't want to follow you anywhere if I'm a player. And that's it. And then the other thing of this is just the essentials of life, man. I mean, it's just relationships. I hope these two individuals, whatever family situations they have, can survive something like this. But again, those family members see exactly what we saw. And I've seen too many relationships, too many marriages, too many families get torn apart by poor choices.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. And lack of trust. All of this stuff kind of goes together. But man, I think you can understand this. Building a relationship is way more important, because I see this every day in working with students. the very most important thing you can do as a teacher, as a coach, as a parent, and whatever, is build a relationship with your kids, because that relationship will be the thing that binds you together. And when you have bad choices, like, and we do things that break those bonds and those relationships, man, it's tough to get them back. It's tough to get 100% trust back. And so I think those are the things why this matters, why this particular incident matters, as an example of how these things can go wrong. And so anyway, I just wanted to mention that again. I don't know the details. I don't want to know the details. I just know what I saw, and it looks bad. And all of these things have been affected by that. So I just wanted to say that today.
Very good. I agree.
Okay, the final word today comes from Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1-2. Therefore, since we have also such a large cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us lay aside every hindrance and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Let us run with endurance the race that lies before us, keeping our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy that lay before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. I may have mentioned this before, but no one can convince me that God isn't into sports. I believe he's a sports fan. That's part of his character. With Scripture, and I'm just hitting on a couple of them here. He talks here about let us run the race, right? In Timothy, he says, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race, right?
That's right.
Finish the race.
That's right.
All sports, when you think about it, Matt, are a measure of endurance. You got a 20-game season that you have to play to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
That's a major endurance there. Not to mention the college game where it's going now. 162 games in a baseball season just to see if you make the playoffs, which go on another month and a half. 82 games in both the NBA and NHL. So much so that we have load management. And, I mean, it is a marathon race. 5-set tennis match takes a lot out of you. 72 holes to win a golf tournament. Sports are about endurance. Champions are built for the long haul. Sometimes I think we believe that Jesus' race just ended on Easter Sunday when he walked out of the grave, and that now he's just kind of sitting around like us in heaven, getting fat and enjoying his retirement. But, our race isn't over, not by a long shot. His race isn't over.
Yeah.
Our life here has pitfalls. Our life, man, we get tired, we get weary. I'm experiencing that today. For getting up at the crack of dawn again to drive a school bus. It's tempting every day to give up, right? But this is the example that Christ gives us. He pushed through all of that the same way that we face, the same things we face. He pushed through it all because he could have easily backed away from going to the cross. I go back to him being in the Garden of Gethsemane, and I always call this, everyone has a Gethsemane moment when you have to push through something, and you have to, no matter how bad you don't want to do it, or you look for other ways out, sometimes you just have to go through and you have to go to the cross. And he did all of that. He endured the suffering. He endured the pain. He endured all the bad days of being alone and all the stuff that we talked about several weeks ago around Easter. But and this verse here tells us that he provides the only true example of how you get through life of heartbreak, how you get through life of pain, how you get through life of just mundaneness, right?
Yeah.
And how do we follow our example according to Hebrews here? We keep our eyes on him.
That's right.
We keep our eyes on him because he's still right there with us running the race. He's kind of the bell cow that we watch. He's the lead dog, if you will. And from a sports perspective, Jesus is really the kind of the quarterback of everything. He's the one. He's definitely not on the sidelines, right? He's with us every single second of every single day. Whatever part of your race that you're in, Jesus is the standard by which you can measure victory. And so I don't know, I read this yesterday. It kind of hit me. That was something that means a lot. And I needed to hear that today as much as anybody else. So that's my final word for today.
Very good. And appreciate it, man.
He is Matt Paul. I am David Weaver, and this is from the Press Box on the Right Team podcast. If you enjoyed our show, be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Do not forget to check us out on YouTube at The Right Team Podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook for additional content and updates you won't want to miss. Stay tuned, subscribe, and don't miss an episode. We've got something for everyone on this podcast. Thank you for listening and supporting us right here from the heart of the East Texas Piney Woods. Until next time, as always, keep writing your story. At Stiles Electric, we believe in doing the job right every single time. Since 1999, we've built a reputation for being reliable, professional, and experienced across commercial projects throughout East Texas. And right now, we're growing. If you're an electrician or looking to start a career in the electrical trade, we want to hear from you. At Stiles Electric, you're not just another employee, you're part of a team that takes pride in its work and its people. Join a company where service speaks for itself. Apply today and power your future with Stiles Electric. Here in East Texas, every story matters, and Right Team Services is here to help you tell yours. From grant writing for local schools and nonprofits to social media, press releases, and website content for small businesses, we're proud to serve the people and communities right here at home. Clear, professional, effective. If you've got something to say, we'll help you say it right. Right Team Services, serving East Texas one story at a time.